For 60 days, the greatest city in Christian Europe has been slowly dying. Vienna, capital of the Holy Roman Empire, jewel of the Habsburg dynasty, is surrounded. 150,000 Ottoman soldiers encircle its walls. Inside, 11,000 defenders and 5,000 desperate volunteers face starvation, disease, and the constant thunder of Turkish cannons. The mines beneath the city grow closer each day. The walls crumble section by section. Count Ernst Rüdiger von Starhemberg, commander of the garrison, has sworn to fight to the last drop of blood. That moment is almost here. This is not just a siege. This is the culmination of nearly 3 centuries of conflict between 2 empires, 2 faiths, 2 visions of the world. If Vienna falls, the road to Rome lies open. The fate of Europe hangs by a thread. The road to Vienna began decades earlier. The Ottoman Empire, under Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent, had already reached these walls once before, in 1529. That siege failed, but the dream never died. By 1683, the Ottomans controlled most of Hungary. Belgrade had fallen in 1521. The great fortress of Buda was theirs. The Habsburgs, rulers of Austria and the Holy Roman Empire, stood as the last barrier between the Sultan's armies and the heart of Christian Europe. The new Grand Vizier, Kara Mustafa, Black Mustafa, was determined to succeed where Suleiman had failed. He would take Vienna, he would open the gates to the west, and he would carve his name into history alongside the greatest conquerors of Islam. In March 1683, Kara Mustafa assembled the largest Ottoman army ever to march into Europe. 170,000 men, Janissaries, the Sultan's elite infantry, Sipahi cavalry, Tatar horsemen from the Crimean steppes, engineers, sappers, and 150 cannons. The columns stretched for miles. It was a city on the move, a nation at war. By July 14th, they reached Vienna. The siege began immediately. Kara Mustafa did not order a direct assault. He was confident. He would starve them, bleed them, break them slowly. His engineers began digging trenches, inching closer to the walls. Beneath the ground, Ottoman sappers tunneled toward the city's foundations, packing mines with gunpowder. Above ground, the cannons roared day and night. Inside Vienna, Count Starhemberg commanded a desperate defense. 11,000 soldiers, 5,000 civilian volunteers, 312 cannons, but only 141 still operational. The city was not prepared for a siege of this scale. Food supplies dwindled. Disease spread through the crowded streets. Every day, Ottoman mines exploded beneath the walls, collapsing entire sections of the fortifications. Starhemberg's men worked through the night, rebuilding what the Turks destroyed by day. When Kara Mustafa sent envoys demanding surrender, Starhemberg's reply was defiant. "Let him come, I'll fight to the last drop of blood." But blood was running out. By early September, the defenders were exhausted, starving, and running out of ammunition. The final assault was coming. Everyone knew it. But Vienna was not alone. Across Europe, the call for help had gone out. Emperor Leopold I of Austria fled the city before the siege began, but he did not abandon it. He sent urgent pleas to every Christian monarch. The Pope blessed a holy league. The German princes rallied. Bavaria sent troops. Saxony sent troops. And from Poland came the man who would change everything, King John III Sobieski. Sobieski was 54 years old, a veteran of countless battles against the Turks. He was a brilliant tactician, a fearless warrior, and a devout Catholic who saw this siege as a holy war. He assembled an army of 27,000 Poles, including 3,000 of the most feared cavalry in Europe, the winged Hussars. By early September, the relief force had gathered, 70,000 men, 140 cannons. They marched toward Vienna. On September 11th, the relief army reached the heights of Kahlenberg mountain, overlooking Vienna. From the summit, they could see everything. The city battered and smoking, the Ottoman camp a vast sea of tents stretching for miles. Kara Mustafa's army, still 150,000 strong. The odds were daunting, but Sobieski did not hesitate. That night, he held a war council. The plan was audacious. They would descend from the heights at dawn, smash through the Ottoman left flank, and drive straight for Kara Mustafa's command tent. The German and Austrian forces would hold the center. The Poles would deliver the killing blow. At 4 in the morning, Sobieski attended Mass. He prayed for victory. He prayed for Vienna. And then, as the sun rose over the Vienna woods, the largest cavalry charge in history began. September 12, 1683, the Battle of Vienna. The Christian forces descended from the heights in waves. The imperial troops and German contingents engaged the Ottoman left wing. The fighting was brutal, hand-to-hand, desperate. For hours, the outcome hung in the balance. Kara Mustafa, confident in his numbers, redeployed his forces to meet the threat. But he made a fatal mistake. He underestimated the Poles. At 5 in the afternoon, Sobieski gave the order. 20,000 Polish cavalry, led by 3,000 winged hussars, formed up on the slopes above the battlefield. The wings on their backs rattled in the wind, creating an unearthly sound. Lances lowered, hooves thundered, and then they charged. The ground shook. The Ottomans, exhausted from months of siege and hours of battle, broke. The winged hussars smashed through their lines like a hammer through glass. The Ottoman lines collapsed. Panic spread through the Turkish camp. Soldiers abandoned their positions, fleeing toward the Danube. Kara Mustafa tried to rally his men, but it was hopeless. By nightfall, the Grand Vizier himself was in full retreat, leaving behind his command tent, his treasure, his cannons, and his reputation. Sobieski's forces swept into the Ottoman camp. They captured the Grand Vizier's personal standard, his war chest filled with gold, and documents detailing the entire Ottoman order of battle. Inside Vienna, the defenders heard the sounds of battle shift. The Turkish cannons fell silent, and then, from the walls, they saw it. The Ottoman army in full flight. The siege was over. Vienna was saved. That night, King John Sobieski wrote to the Pope, "Venimus, vidimus, Deus vicit." We came, we saw, God conquered. The consequences of the Battle of Vienna echoed across centuries. For the Ottoman Empire, it was the beginning of the end. Kara Mustafa was executed by the Sultan for his failure, strangled with a silk cord in Belgrade. The Ottomans would never again threaten Central Europe. Over the next 16 years, the Habsburgs pushed the Turks out of Hungary entirely. The Great Turkish War ended with the Treaty of Karlowitz in 1699, marking the first time the Ottoman Empire ceded territory in a peace treaty. The empire that had once seemed unstoppable was now in retreat. For Europe, Vienna became a symbol, a turning point, the moment when the tide turned. The city that refused to fall became the city that saved a continent. But the legacy of 1683 is more complex than simple triumph. The siege and battle became mythologized, woven into narratives of Christian versus Muslim, East versus West. For centuries, it was remembered as the moment Europe was saved from Islam. Yet the reality was more nuanced. The Ottoman Empire was not a monolithic force of conquest, but a multi-ethnic, multi-religious empire that had coexisted with Christian Europe for generations. The battle was as much about Habsburg and Ottoman imperial ambitions as it was about faith. Still, the symbolism endured. Vienna became a fortress of European identity, and the memory of Sobieski's charge became legend. There is a footnote to this story, one that connects the siege to your morning coffee. Legend has it that when the Ottomans fled Vienna, they left behind sacks of coffee beans. A Polish officer named Jerzy Franciszek Kulczycki, who had served as a spy during the siege, claimed the coffee as his reward. He opened Vienna's first coffee house. The Viennese, unfamiliar with the bitter Turkish drink, added milk and sugar. Thus, the Viennese coffeehouse tradition was born, a cultural institution that endures to this day. Whether the legend is entirely true is debatable, but it captures something essential. Even in war, cultures collide, blend, and transform. The siege that sought to destroy Vienna also, inadvertently, enriched it. Today, if you walk through Vienna, the memory of 1683 is everywhere. Monuments to Sobieski stand in the city. The Kahlenberg mountain, where the relief army gathered, is now a pilgrimage site. A small church at the summit commemorates the battle. Every September 12th, ceremonies are held to remember the day Vienna was saved. The city's Baroque architecture, much of it built in the decades after the siege, reflects the confidence of an empire that had survived its greatest test. Vienna became not just a capital, but a symbol of resilience. The siege that nearly destroyed it instead defined it. The siege of Vienna in 1683 was more than a battle. It was a hinge of history. Had Kara Mustafa succeeded, the map of Europe would look very different. The Habsburg Empire might have collapsed. The balance of power would have shifted irrevocably. But one man, King John Sobieski, and one charge, the winged Hussars thundering down from Kahlenberg, changed everything. The siege reminds us that history is not inevitable. It is shaped by decisions, by courage, by moments when everything hangs in the balance. Vienna stood, Europe endured, and the memory of that September day, when 70,000 soldiers descended from the heights to save a city, echoes still. The gates held, the walls stood, and the world turned on a single charge.